Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Day 7, the closing day of the Albuquerque Film and Music Experience. My name's Ivan Weiner, Executive Director, and we are delighted about the programming today, kicking it off with none other than Better Call Saul's Rhea Seehorn. Before we get started, though, with this amazing conversation, we'd like to thank our presenting sponsors, AFME Foundation, Albuquerque Film Office, and Film Liaison Cindy McCrossan, Albuquerque the Magazine, Bernalillo County Commissioners Stephen Michael Quezada, Pereza Terena Olive Oil, Comcast NBC Universal, Real Solutions Airport Meet and Greet Service, Sunny 505, the Baker Law Group, University of New Mexico Film and Digital Arts, Wells Fargo Advisors and Larry Schwartz, Yamaha Entertainment Group, and Jouska Road Productions. Let's get right into this. Without further ado, I want to bring in our Director of Operations, Kira Seipler. It's been a great week. Thank you for everything you've done.
Oh, thank you, Ivan, for bringing us all together for this magnificent festival. I've certainly have learned a lot from all of our center stage conversations and our filmmaker Q&As, and I am particularly excited about our upcoming center stage conversation. First off, I do want to thank our technical director, Melody Carlisle, for which none of this could really happen as smoothly as it has been. So thank you, Melody. I also want to remind everybody about our award ceremony that will be on Facebook Live today at 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time on Facebook Live. Check out our Facebook page for more information. I am so excited. I'm just going to get right to it because I cannot wait to start this. So we are proud to present one of my favorite actors and filmmakers, Rhea Seehorn, on today's center stage conversation. There will be a Q&A during this conversation. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and we will do our very best to get all of your questions answered. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator. Tom Schuch is a native of Los Alamos, New Mexico, and began his formal acting training at the University of Washington, a national leader in theater training. Over the years, Tom has appeared in numerous films and TV series, as well as many national and regional commercials, and more than 60 plays. Wow, you're busy. A leader in the New Mexico performing arts community and a member of SAG-AFTRA and Actors Equity Association, Tom helped found several theater organizations, including Douglas Stewart's Shakespeare on the Half Shell and Surely You Just comedy improv troupe. Plus, plus the Mother Road Theater Company and his own Spoli Productions International. Tom has conducted many interviews and live conversations with high-profile actors, directors, and artists, including the cast of Breaking Bad, Jeff Bridges, T-Bone Burnett, and Perry King for AFMX, Kate Blanchett, Wes Studi. The list goes on and on and on. We are so happy and lucky to have Tom Schuch here with us this morning. Tom.
Thank you so much, Kara. That was very nice. Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce Rhea Seehorn. She's currently starring as Kim Wexler, as you all know, in AMC's hit series Better Call Saul, which is filming their final season right now here in Albuquerque. The Seehorn's Kim is one of the most powerful women on TV and earning her a Critics' Choice Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series and a SAG Awards nomination for Best Ensemble in a Drama Series. Most recently, Seehorn starred in the Netflix thriller film Things Heard and Seen, opposite Amanda Seyfried, and also voiced Debbie Harper in the very funny animated series The Harper House. Next up, Seehorn will star in the comedy feature LINOLEUM, opposite Jim Gaffigan, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that. Other recent projects include HBO's series Veep, Hulu's miniseries The Act, CBS All Access series The Twilight Zone. Other television credits include ABC's I'm With Her, Fox's Head Cases, NBC's Whitney, TNT's Franklin and Bash, Trust Me, Dollhouse, Burn Notice, The Closer, Starter Wife, and House of Lies. Additional film credits include Inside Man 2, I Hate Kids, Shaggy Dog, and Worm. Seehorn also has a significant theater background with over 10 years of experience in Washington, D.C. and New York. On behalf of the Albuquerque Film and Music Experience, it's my great pleasure to welcome Rhea Seehorn to this center stage conversation. Welcome, Rhea.
Hi. Wow.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for having me. That was quite the IMDb plus list.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know you're very busy, especially right in the middle of season 6, Better Call Saul, but we really, really appreciate you taking the time to do this morning.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you, Melanie, Kira, and Ivan as well. And you, Tom. Thank you.
You betcha. So I want to just start this conversation in the beginning, if you don't mind, and get an idea of how you started in this business. What drew you to acting, to this artistic world as a young person?
I actually thought I was going to be a painter. I painted and drew and went to art classes after school since I was very, very little. My father and grandmother both were artists as well. And, but I was obsessed with films and television. And I was very drawn into storytelling, I guess is the way I looked at it then. And my mother and father and sister and all of my relatives are great storytellers, a very Southern type of tradition. And there was something about that I knew that I wanted to be a part of, but I felt very outside of anything in entertainment. I did not know anybody in entertainment. We didn't go to the theater growing up. It felt very unreachable. I had no idea what the way into that was, but my paintings were quite narrative, and that's sort of the trajectory I thought I would take. And I ended up going to George Mason University and was near Washington, DC, and would go into the city to watch plays at some of my still favorite theaters in the world, Woolly Mammoth Theater and Arena Stage and Studio Theater. And I was just so intoxicated by it. And you have to take an elective, even though it was a fine arts degree in painting, you have to take an elective that's outside of your major. So I took my first acting class actually in college, and was thrilled that, and it was with Lenny Raybuck, and I was thrilled that it was a technique heavy class. It was using practical aesthetics, developed out of the Atlantic Theater, and the vocabulary, the objectives, and the given circumstances and tactics and all of this stuff. And it was the first time that it's the first, I mean, I knew there was the acting craft, and I would watch Inside the Actors Studio, and but I didn't understand the range of methodology and the specificity of the training for it until that moment. And I think some people probably fall in love more, not a lot of people, but some people, you hear about them taking a class that's much more intuitive and sort of about the magic of acting, which there is. But for me, it was the exact right thing in that moment, that it became less intangible and some sort of lofty goal thing that it was unreachable for me, and it became something that you actually could work towards. And I fell in love with the work part of acting first.
Well, it makes sense to me that as a painter in the early years that you would be attracted to film, and because it is a storytelling through pictures. Mm-hmm. It makes total sense that you would gravitate towards that.
Yeah, it was, to me, a transition that completely made sense in mind and body. It might look like a strange one to some people, but I'm glad it doesn't to you.
Not at all, not at all. So once you caught the bug, as they say, what were did you have long-term goals? Was Hollywood the goal? Was doing theater? Were you satisfied with that? What were you thinking in those early days about what you might do with this craft?
Theater, I didn't, I'm trying to think, like, it wasn't about like, is theater going to be enough for me? I wanted to try pretty much all forms of storytelling. And like I said, I was very much, and still am, very much in love with the work part of it, the prep. I had to work really hard and still have to sometimes get my nerves in check to do the performing part.
Mhm.
That was sort of a separate love affair and the more it was about taking an audience on a journey of like, you know, when you start out in black box theater, as you well know, where there's almost no props and very little scenery, and it's just about being in a room with people, sometimes super close, you know, 30-seat theaters. And it's just about building a car for them, to a vehicle, if you will, just through storytelling and through your commitment to the story and the character, that they believe they are in the vehicle they're in, and then taking them on this journey from A to B. And that love affair started in theater. And I didn't think, oh, film and television would be the brass ring, and that's when you've really made it, or that's what I need. I became a company member at Woolly Mammoth Theater, which is still one of the things in my career I'm the most proud of, and performed at Arena Stage with Molly Smith, doing multiple Paula Vogel plays, and just an incredible, incredible experience. And being on stage and doing a live show is its own unique experience. But then I started to think like, oh, I want to see like, what are the similarities and what are the differences from acting on acting on camera versus acting on stage as well, and what kind of journey is that to take the audience on, which in some ways there, you know, sometimes I think people stigmatize theater acting wrongfully, but that it's sort of like big. And I even heard that a lot when I first started doing on camera stuff of like, well, make sure it's small. On camera has to be small, you know, like, ooh, she's a theater person. And I think it's just so unfounded and incorrect. If you're doing an arena stage with 3,000 seats, yeah, you need to project. And I was an understudy that got to go on Broadway, and I'm frequently the actor that does not need a mic. I'm very loud, but you have to use your body and you have to project. But when you're doing black box theater and you have people a foot from your face, it's as small as any on camera thing often. Now that being said, a camera can go 360, and I had to learn like, well, what are the things, and certainly with my character, Kim Wexler, I did learn that like, there's some really fun things you can do on camera that you can't do on stage, and vice versa. There's some things you can do on stage, walking onto a stage with a character, and just, I call it holding the stage. Just being the character from a moment, the audience starts to breathe with you, and they are in real time having this experience with you. That is such an amazing pact to make with an audience that I felt that I was missing sometimes when I first started doing on camera stuff. But then I learned that you can make that pact, but it has to do with trusting yourself to play that through the lens. And this show that I'm doing now, Better Call Saul, is the most like theater of any of the shows that I've done. Some of it is because they do hold wide shots for much longer periods of time than a lot of television is kind of obsessed with the close-up. And so I do get to use my whole body to tell the story the way I used to on stage. And sometimes somebody's slumped shoulders at the end of a scene is every bit as powerful as any super close up of a tear squeezing out, you know. And they let you do that. They also hold scenes for long periods, you know, 8-page two people talking scenes, and you can really explore that dynamic. And my character in particular, I think at some point I felt that probably by season 3 that the audience was often my truest confidant in the scenes. Not that Kim Wexler would be aware of that, but I have so many moments in the show where I am silent and refusing to show the other person in the room with me what I'm really thinking, but the audience is aware. Maybe not always exactly what she's thinking, but they are with me, and me trusting that and trusting the audience has been such a joyous learning experience. It feels like that magic I would feel on stage when I'm like, oh, they're breathing with me. And I do think it has enriched my experience with the fans of the show and the fans of Kim Wexler. When I do meet fans, I know they feel like they know her, and I understand why. It's because there's a lot of her journey that they have been included on and trusted to ingest and stay with.
So when you are shooting, do you feel the audience with you, even though you're on film or acting to the camera?
I do now. I used to be so nervous on camera that I could perform it, but I didn't trust myself enough to know that, because when you're doing live theater, whether it's comedy or drama, and like comedy, you're going to hear the laughs, obviously, and drama, you might not hear anything, but you can feel it. You can feel whether the audience is with you or not. And if you are keeping that vehicle that you built for them intact, you can feel it. And so for a while there on camera, when I was starting out, some 15 years ago or something, I kept searching for that. And I also did sitcoms that had live audiences. So that was nice. I got that fixed. But it's a challenge to keep growing in that and find that. And I do feel it now. It's a strange thing to feel your audience for something that they won't see for a year, and after you've shot it. But
right.
It's been a really great learning experience, this show in particular.
Well, I really understand what you're talking about, having two people in the same shot talking to each other, because more and more you see close up, close up, close up, close up with two people talking. So it is great to see two people talking to each other, because you get their reactions immediately. And body language, as you mentioned, is a huge part of that, whether you're speaking or not. So you start out in theater and moved into TV and film. What was your plan? Is there such thing as career planning in this business?
I didn't have the luxury of having a plan. Like when I hear about people being really figuring out the architecture of their career, I'm just like, that sounds amazing if you get to pick and choose what you're doing. But there's stuff like when I came to LA, I was doing a play at the time at Playwrights Horizons called The World Over in New York, and auditioned on a videotape for pilot season because I was way too chicken shit to actually just come out and do pilot season. And got cast in a show that that the odds were not great, but I got cast. It was called I'm With Her, and then the show got picked up immediately, and I had to move to LA, and I didn't know a soul. I didn't have a car. I didn't have anything, and I moved there, and we went for a year, 24 episodes, and it was great. Had so much fun. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'll go back to New York, but oh well, I'm already here, so I might as well try pilot season in person. And I was lucky enough to get pigeonholed, which sounds like an oxymoron, but to be called at all, to be thought of at all for anything is a great thing if you're an actor trying to make a living. So I was thought of as a sitcom actress, and I went in for a lot of sitcoms, and as many as you listed in that list that did air, there's just as many that didn't air. So I was working consistently. I'm very, very grateful for that. did a lot of pilots that I loved that didn't go. I did some shows, Singles Table, that I love. We did 6 episodes of that. Head Cases, we did 6 and they never aired. So it was I worked a lot. I'm really grateful and proud of that, but had to fight to get drama auditions because I was seen as a sitcom actress. And like I said, I'm lucky. Like I could off the top of my head, always name 5 friends who didn't even get a pilot audition, you know? So I knew that I was grateful for that, but I was confused in theater. In theaters, sometimes people will distinguish between they do musical theater or straight plays, and sometimes people don't cross over, not a lot. And then there are some people that also will distinguish that they mostly do classical versus contemporary. I was definitely more contemporary in almost all new plays. But I didn't hear people say like, I do comedy, I only do comedy, or I only do drama. It just wasn't, there might be people that show up in one more than the other, but saying that somebody is a comedic actress versus dramatic actress to me was very odd when I got out to LA. I couldn't understand it. But there were always amazing casting directors like Sharon Bialy and Sherry Thomas and Russell Scott that cast both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul that called me in for both. And I told this story on a podcast once that I had been going in for Bialy casting, Bialy Thomas casting, probably 9 years, maybe 10, doing a body of work that was extensive, like monologues, huge scenes, really difficult, challenging characters. I never booked any of them, but Sharon and Sherry and Russell loved what I was doing and were very encouraging and liked the attack I had on the characters and the way I approached my work ethic, as far as like, I mean, I went in for things that I already knew an offer was out to some big name person, and I still went in with my A game because I love the work part of it anyway. I made a character that I would do for free in the driveway, so I might as well go do it over at their office. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
And it's just so, there were days when I was like, there's 0% chance I'm getting this. And I know you're supposed to let go of the result when you're auditioning. I find that quite difficult. I fall in love with these characters and I do want to be the one that gets to tell the story. But for that moment, I fight as hard as I can to just do a snapshot of this character, to walk into a room and just do, this is a little Polaroid of a person I made up. And it'd be really cool to do a bunch of Polaroids with you, but today I'm gonna do this one little Polaroid, and I did, and I would bring my A game when I could get a hold of my nerves anyway, but I would do those snapshots and continued with that. And I think that, and Sharon has later told me that I'm correct, when Better Call Saul came up and she's reading about the character and in discussions with Peter and Vince, yes, I auditioned and sent tapes and did multiple callbacks with fake sides, which is what a lot of shows that have NDAs have to do now. But she also was able to talk to them about a body of work that no one else has ever seen about, like, if they were considering, and at the time they weren't sure where they were going to take the character, but if we go in this direction, the actress would need to be able to be accomplished at this type of work, or be able to take it in this direction, or this type of thing. And if you only saw what I had done that aired, you probably wouldn't know that I am capable of that. And she could speak to that because of 10 years of failed auditions. On paper, failed auditions because I didn't get the job, but they are part of what got me this job. And that my work ethic and her being a brilliant casting director, as so is Sherry Thomas and Russell Scott, and me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's an important message for young actors, that like, don't blow off any audition that you think it's just like, there's no chance I could get this. Like, first of all, practice that muscle, exercise that muscle of creating your snapshot as though you're gonna do it tomorrow on stage for real, not just the audition. Practice that muscle every time, fall in love with that part of the process. And not only will it be a part of who you are and make you a better actor, you also need to know there are people out there that are watching. They are watching what you're bringing to the table each and every time.
Well said. And especially when a casting director of her stature brings you in a lot. Doesn't that mean?
Yeah, I was kind of like,
she likes your work.
Because I'm not booking anything. but I mean, I would go off and do a sitcom. I did work, and I do want to say I completely understand how hard it is to keep your head held up high if you weren't working at all that whole time. That is really hard. And the times in my life when I have had a gap of employment, which for me is like about 48 hours is as long as I can go before I'm like, I'm a piece of crap. I'm going to die in a cardboard box. I'm never working again. So I'm not very good at it, but, and work begets work. And you do walk in with a certain confidence if you already know that you've just worked on something. And I want to say, I completely understand the struggle, the additional struggle to hold your head up when you're not working and you're not feeling like you're getting the green light from anybody. And it just feels very much like you're in a vacuum. And those moments that I've felt that way, my heart breaks for actors that do go through that. But I would say to all of them, do make a film short on your phone with your friends over the weekend. Do anything you can that keeps you in that mode of storytelling and exercising that muscle, so that when you do get that audition, you feel the confidence to go in there and show them the portrait that you made.
And you feel engaged instead of not engaged. So was there a moment in your career where you felt your career was on track, whatever that means to you?
It's such a, and I know you're asking questions too, like about like, what was my plan? And people will say like, when did you know you'd made it and stuff? It's a strange thing for me because, or not for me, I didn't need to emphasize the word me. I don't know what that was about. It's strange, but I've thought about it sometimes because people will ask me that. And no, I just felt, there was a period where I thought I could do this I can make a living at this. And that's a big cliff to jump off when you quit that final day job. And I've had so many, and you're like, should I just tell them I'm like, it's a 6-month period I'm off, because what if I need to go back? But then it's just like, it's fine. You can reapply at Denny's, it'll be fine. But that having people pay money and come back, and like, I remember I did a show, The Big Slam at Woolly Mammoth Theater, Bill Corbett's play, Casey Stengel directing. I think I had just become a company member, and people were coming to the show multiple times. And I remember having to sort of absorb, oh, they didn't accidentally wander by this theater and get suckered into watching me perform. Like they chose this. And I think yes, that was the first time I was nominated for a Helen Hayes Award. And it was that I remember thinking like, I think I could do this for a living. I think I might be able to pull off doing this for a living, and how incredible that would be. But it's funny, Tony Hale, that I got to talk to you on Veep, and he's such a wonderful man. Everyone in that cast is the most incredible genius people, and also lovely. But he had done that book, The Next Big Thing. And I know that was born out of his experience as an actor, and he spoke about this in the press, as far as you can unfortunately think, if I ever became equity, then I'm a real actor. If I got my union card for stage performing, like, and then that happened, and then it was like, oh well, I mean, oh my gosh, if I was ever a company member at Woolly Mammoth Theater, then I'd know like I'm a real actor. I'm really doing this. And then I became a company member, and I was overjoyed, and still am. But then it was like, oh well, if I could work in New York, that's what real actors do. And then I did, and then I got on Broadway, and then but then there, you'd hear people, there's this constant one-upsmanship kind of stuff that's somewhat coming from inside, but sometimes it's coming externally as well, of like, well, I mean, like TV, like if you got a TV series, like not just a guest star, but you were a series regular, then you made it. And then I got that. And then it was like, and then, you know, you walk around LA and like, oh my God, for years, people would be like, what have I seen you in? I feel like I've seen you in something. And I would say like the show that I was currently in, they were like, oh no, I meant like film. I don't watch TV, only film. It's like, okay, fine. And you know, like, which by the way, when people say like, people say all the time, and I want everyone to know, this is rude to say, have you been in anything that I would have seen? Because I want to say like, I don't know, maybe you have shitty taste. I don't know. What do you watch? I think, you know, because at first I would like say like, I was theater. Is it theater? Oh no, I don't do theater. Sitcoms. I don't watch sitcoms. Fine, whatever. Anyway, I digress. My point being that you're always thinking, have I made it? Am I real actor? Like, and then there's the next thing, and then like suddenly you turn around and I'm like, oh my God, two of the people that I think are like the most genius storytellers in entertainment in any field are Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould. Mm-hmm. And it took me a couple of seasons before I absorbed that it wasn't an accident that they cast me. And then they picked the colors of Post-its that are in my scenes. They picked the pens, they picked everything. They did not accidentally decide that I should help them tell this story and develop Kim Wexler with them. And that's something like, even now I'm sweating profusely. That's a very hard thing for me to absorb, that those people, and Melissa Bernstein, like the genius level that's going on in my show is like astounding. It's a masterclass in every department, from props to scenic design, every single one of my scene partners, the writing, the directing, the producing, it's all just the camera work, sound. And at some point, like, yeah, you got to absorb, well, they thought that you could contribute here, not just barely tread water. They thought you could contribute here. And what a gift to trust yourself to go like, okay, maybe I can. And I get scenes all the time in the show where I'm like, ugh, tomorrow's going to be the day they find out that like, I cannot pull this off. And they're like, oh, yes, you can. And they'll say things to me like, yeah, I know, I wrote, and I'm like, she's doing what? And then she's silent for 4 pages. And then she does what? And she says that. And they're like, yeah, we think you can pull it off. And that is incredible. But I felt that way when Howard Shawitz thought I could pull off the big slam at Woolly Mammoth. So I guess, without sounding too Pollyanna-ish, I am very present, I think is the best way I can put it, in that like, I can't believe I got whatever I just got. And that makes me feel like I made it. Every single one of them, I'm like, oh, I can relax. And then tomorrow I'm just like, no, I can't. I'm gonna never work again. But I don't know if that's helpful in answering your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. So let's talk about Better Call Saul a little bit. So Kim Wexler, tremendous character in this series. For me, watching the series, Kim is an enigma, because you mentioned earlier a few minutes ago about you could spend 4 pages being silent, but in the scene. And I'm always, every time I look at your face, and what is she thinking? What is she thinking? Where is she coming from? What does she think about what was just said? She's going to do something. I know she's going to do something. And so for me, it's really exciting to watch that. And I can imagine as an actor, it must be wonderful to play those scenes and that character where people are wondering what's going on. What, your background, we don't know much about that, really. What happened to you? what happened to you when you were a kid, and to make you the way you are. And then there's these juxtapositions of the straight-laced Kim Wexler, and then the person willing to get in on a con with Jimmy. And so those are always surprising to me. And I will say something about the writing. After being an actor for many years and reading probably thousands of scripts, I can watch a television show and tell you what the next line is going to be in dialogue. I can almost say it. And in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, I am continually surprised by what the next line is. Continually surprised by that. It always makes sense and go, oh, yeah. It doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from somewhere, but the writing is so brilliant in that way. That's what just keeps me glued to the TV set to find out what's going to happen next. What is it about the writing to you that you think is so, I don't know what to call it, attractive or magnificent?
Well, thank you for saying all of that and about my character and performing as well. It also surprises me, and I've read a ton of scripts as well. But it never feels like a trick. Even when I read lines of my own that I'm like, what? And I didn't see that coming. And then I'm like, but didn't you? It feels like you're peeling an onion and there's layers. Nothing ever feels like a ratings trick or, jumping the shark or just doing something to astonish people or shock people. Their scripts are beautiful. They're beautifully written. They often read like novels. There's a lot of tone written into them, and point of view written into them. Peter and Vince have talked about that. They call it kicking the tires. If they're in the writer's room and they're writing a scene and the next indicated action is X, because obviously that's the way the train's going, and that would wrap the scene up, and that all makes sense. If it came that easily, they call it kicking the tires, where it's just like, let's investigate every other way somebody might react to this, or what they might say or do, because that is more reflective of real humanity than doing and what the plot indicates. And they also say that all the time. They do not like, they like character to drive plot, not plot to drive character. And I think, I know that that's part of why this very slow progression of Jimmy becoming Saul got elongated and extrapolated, is because they were looking at him mid-season and everything that Bob was bringing to the table in that character. And they were like, this character's not ready to make these choices yet. This character's not ready to behave like Saul Goodman yet. That's absurd. So I think that you read that in the script, and as a viewer, you get that. As an audience, you're watching it, and you do feel like, even though some things they're doing and saying feel outlandish, they actually feel very much a fabric of reality, of like humanity, of like a real human experience. And I think that is, they do a brilliant job of reflecting that in its messiness and in its complexity, and the surprises in the way some people behave. And then on top of that, I think they trust their audience. Yeah. They are not interested in telling you exactly what people are thinking. They're not interested in tying up in a bow people's decision-making. They are completely fine with some moments being open to interpretation. Now, as an actor, you still have to choose what you think you're playing in that intention or in a silence. But they trust that your audience is intelligent enough and empathic enough that they are going to go on this journey, and they are going to accept the messiness and take it more as an experience to talk about and think about than to be told by, I mean, look at even the music supervision by Thomas Golubic and the and the composing by Dave Porter is very spare. And when it's used, it's never used to tell you how to feel about the scene. Like, oh, that was a sad scene, feels sad. Oh, those people love each other because there's a love song on. They don't do that. And that's an extension, I think, of where they're coming from with the writing, and also how they direct us and how they empower the whole cast. As far as I've been told a million times by Peter, I'm like, hey, Peter, I think she's thinking XYZ in this scene. And then on the day I'm going to get there, and depending on what Patrick plays or Bob plays or Tony Dalton plays, like, you know, I want to be open to being surprised as well, and throwing the ball back in which direction it came at me, kind of thing. But I also am just like, I'm not sure the audience is going to know exactly. I mean, look at the Finger Guns finale from last scene. And he's like, I know, isn't it great? There's going to be like 100 interpretations of that. I was like, really? That's weirdly not the norm when you're, and I've worked with some brilliant people, and I don't take anything away from that, but thinking that you need to make sure the audience knows exactly what somebody's thinking and exactly why they did what they did is a very common pursuit in a lot of other television. I'll just say that.
No, that's true. And I think that's the biggest thing. You just hit the nail on the head, is they don't discount the intelligence of the audience. And, I remember a number of years ago, there was a drama, a thriller drama on television that was great the first 2 seasons. And then the 3rd season, they started telling you who the bad guy was. Mm-hmm. And I just totally lost interest in it because I didn't want to know. And because that's what kept my interest, was trying to figure things out. Mm-hmm. But so one thing in the writing, and I will, full disclosure, I did have a short moment with Kim Wexler in season 3.
The Fork restaurant.
Yeah, at the Fork restaurant. And there was something that happened there. It had nothing to do with me, but it was in the writing again. And there's the scene, Howard is sitting at a table with some business people, potential clients. I'm one of them. Kim is at a table a ways away with the Mesa Verde folks. And Howard gets up to go say hello, gets to the table. Kim starts to stand up to greet him. He says, "Sit, I insist." And it was very dismissive. And it was almost like telling your puppy dog to sit down, don't get up. And so then there was exchange of dialogue, and then he went back to his table. Kim gets up, goes to the lobby, pulls out a checkbook, writes a check for Howard in the amount that I believe he paid for her schooling. She goes to his table. He sees her. He starts to get up, and she says, "Sit, I insist on it."
Yes.
It's so quick that I didn't hear or see it the first time, or even the first couple of times. And that's just the bam, touche. There you go, sit down, and I'm going to give you this check that you're not going to be happy about. And then they argue about it in a subsequent scene. But anyway, that's just a small example of the writing and how in the moment, how clever it is. And you better be listening, because you're going to miss stuff if you're not listening.
Yeah, it was a great moment. I remember it distinctly. And you don't lay, as a performer, you don't have to underline that moment, which is part of the intelligence of the show as well. I think it's not, I shouldn't even say intelligence, because there are shows that I enjoy very much that are supposed to be a bit more broad in their touches. And those are fun, and those are very entertaining. That's not what we're doing in this. And so they're small. The reality, even though the show is not straight up naturalism, when you look at the dialogue, people are often quite poetic in the way they speak, but we have some extreme naturalism banter scenes where things, I've asked sometimes, like the toothbrushing scenes, like, are they improv? They're not ad-libbed. They're just extremely well written. But there are other times when people are operating a bit outside of reality, either the way it's filmed or the dialogue. That being said, they maintain the reality of the intelligence of the characters. And that's another thing that's very great in the writing, is if you're going to make Kim smart, she can't be dumb just when it serves a moment or a story. And I bring that up because in that situation, Kim is still in a professional environment. So I can't afford to say, sit, I insist, and look like I've lost my cool in front of a bunch of other lawyers and judges that he's talking to, as well as my clients behind me. It's imperative that that dagger is only felt by Howard, and that no one else would remark upon it. And so they encourage you to keep that. And it came up a lot in my relationship with Jimmy, that we would talk about, like there was many times where it'd be easier to write the scene if Kim was oblivious to what he did or just snowed by him. But is that the most interesting thing? Is that even the most interesting character that fans of Jimmy and Saul Goodman, would you want him with a woman who's just too dumb to know what's up? How interesting is that for how many episodes, you know? So she knows what she knows. She chooses not to say things sometimes, but they continue that intelligence. And I do think that's part of why people will stay with me in a silent moment, because like you said, they're like, I know that brain is, I know the gears are turning. There's no way she's just passively watching this. So then it's fun to just be like, oh my God, what is she thinking? Which, by the way, you said, I assume it's fun to play. It's a joy to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bet. Well, I could go on for hours with you, but I'm going to ask you a few more questions. Then we're going to go to questions from the audience. We've got them coming up on chat. Let me ask you a couple of questions about shooting here in New Mexico. How has your experience been here in New Mexico the past number of years?
Love, have loved every moment of shooting here. It's such a gift that, and also that we're not shooting in New Mexico for another city. We're not pretending that it's another city. It's New Mexico shining as it is. And those, I mean, when we do exteriors and I look at those clouds in the sky, sometimes I'm like, no one's going to believe that's real. They're going to think we put that in post-production, but it's real, and it's mercurial, and to get to so many of my sets, my condo, HHM, are real buildings here, and like you're driving to them and thinking about the character's actual commute, and like, but you know what I mean? Like you can live and thrive and take in this very, it's just such a, it's a magical place to shoot. The state, the people, the skies, the beauty, but also like I said, the mercurial nature of how fast the weather and the skies can change here is, like, to me, very much a character on the show. There's this danger that's bubbling under this beautiful sky, or there's a purple electrical storm that just turns into sunlight around the next corner. And all of those things are elements in the show. Plus the crews here are amazing, incredible talent pool here. And that I've come to know and love and consider family members now, people that have just moved up and moved up and moved up. And Maine, who's, was a PA and is now, he's moving up the ranks in the line of ADs and is on set. Trina Siopi, that was a prop master and now is one of our producers. She's just a force to be around. There's so many incredible local people that I now have known for 7 years that are just so talented. It's great.
That's awesome. So I am, as a native New Mexican, obligated to ask you our official state New Mexico question. Red or green?
Oh, right. I like green.
Okay, there we go. We settled that. Okay, Kira, I think we have some questions from the audience. Why don't we go ahead and start that?
Yes, we do. Our first question, can you all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Our first question comes from Arabella. Hi, Ray. My question is, we've never heard Jimmy and Kim say, I love you to each other. What do you think about that?
Yes, I've been asked that before. I first of all, Kim is she is quite the economic person with language. She's quite spare in what she expresses. I always feel like the two of them have almost flipped male-female stereotype stuff, as far as like, Kim is not interested in discussing feelings, or she's a problem solver. She changes things to pragmatic time and time again. So it doesn't feel odd to me. I feel like she is action. You know, I'm also very proud that their relationship has never traded in lots of sex scenes or lots of kissing or lots of mushy scenes, but I feel like it's a very real relationship. And that's what many fans tell me. But yeah, it's an interesting thing that they have withheld that particular piece of dialogue from both of our characters. One could maybe think that they do it off screen, that they have said that in some other time. I have personal feelings about why Kim would withhold that statement. But I think that they truly love each other. Maybe it's too risky to say out loud. I don't know.
Great answer. Our next question comes from Angela. Hi, Ray. Did Better Call Saul help you become aware of your skills as an actress?
Hi, back to you. Yes, every show I've done, if you're not getting better every day in every scene that you're handed, like you're making a mistake in my book. But like we talked about early on in this panel discussion, the level to which I am asked to trust myself and to not try to indicate to the audience exactly what's going on, and to just trust it. I call it, when I coach actors, like think the thoughts. You don't need to show the thoughts, think the thoughts. But to really trust yourself that that's enough, that you don't have to do anything else besides do your homework and show up and be present, is hard. And this show has constantly encouraged me to trust myself. And then getting to meet with fans and realizing like, oh, wow, they have like full novels going on in their heads of what they think I'm thinking in this scene or that scene or that scene. And they're often quite on target. So that has sharpened my skill, just to do my homework and show up and be available to my scene has been great.
That's awesome. Our next question comes from Bill. Ray, what are your favorite things about Albuquerque in New Mexico?
Well, I already mentioned the skies, and I know that that's probably not a profound thing to say because probably everyone says that, but I just like, I'm fascinated. I pull the car over all the time and it's like, oh my God, look at it. And I'd have hundreds and hundreds of pictures of the sky. But it's just one of the scenic quality that looks like you're constantly walking in a painting here is one of my favorite things. And second, it would have to be the people. Third, food. We'll really like the food here. But the people as well, just so open and such a wide variety of interest and sort of walks of life, and incredible acceptance and of us shooting here. I mean, you know, you shoot in LA and people are kind of angry that you're in the way most of the time. But here I feel like we're embraced but also respected, and fans are so nice to me walking up and down the street. It's just been a wonderful experience.
That's awesome. Our next question comes from Miriam. Hi, Ray. Are there some of Kim's peculiar traits that you took from your real life, like the way she moves her hands when she's thinking or her lips when she's worried?
Hi, Miriam. I'm sure there are some I could think of. I mostly need to, whenever we return for the season, I have to spend the first couple of days just trying to get more still because I am very animated. And I would never win a poker game, and Kim would always win. And I have a million tells. Everyone knows what I'm thinking. I can't possibly not fill a silence. No way. Can't live in that discomfort for 5 seconds. I wish I could. I've been trying to learn from Kim of like the power of not speaking, and I'm not getting there yet, but I'm sure there's got to be, I'm sure there are. I mean, her laugh is mine. She laughs at different things than I do. She laughs much less than I do. I laugh at everything, but I didn't like decide like, okay, she's gonna have a different laugh and a different walk than me. Although she does have a different walk because I have horrible posture and Kim has really great posture. I can't think of, I know there's things that are the same. Probably when she does use her hands, that's me. That's very
Okay.
me.
I love that you said that you learned from Kim. I love that. The next question is from Gabe. Hi, Ray. Love your work on Better Call Saul. Kim is probably my favorite TV character ever. My question is what your favorite scene to film on Better Call Saul has been so far.
Hi, Gabe. Thank you. That is an impossible thing to answer. That is just absolutely, there's so many favorite scenes. There's scenes you might guess because they were big and dramatic. You know, the almost breakup scene that turned into me asking him if we should get married, going after Howard with the letter that Chuck has left, and they're standing up to Lalo. There's scenes you might guess, but there are also scenes that are quiet and small that are just as much my favorite. Jimmy trying to assuage Kim's guilt about what she's pulling over the con against Mesa Verde by getting her to do an impression of Kevin Wachtel, played by the brilliant Rex Linn. And he starts doing an impression of me, was one of my favorite scenes. And she's doing a terrible impression because, and we talked through it with Michael Morris and Tom Schuch. It's like, Kim's not the performer, Jimmy is. I mean, she performs in this like armor that she has when she goes to work, but she's not the comedian. And so I think her impression is not very good, but to me, that was as vulnerable if she was sitting there naked. For her to try to be funny for Jimmy was just this very special moment. I also love, is it season 1 or season 2, the montage of Kim trying to get her own clients, but she doesn't even have an office, and there's Post-its in the stairwell and bathroom. I love that. So I'm sorry, I can't name one.
That's great. I love that she loves Post-its as well. Our next question is from Shannon. Hi, Ray. 2 questions. Who is your role model for acting? And is there an actor or director you hope to work with in the future?
Hi, Shannon. I have a million role models. I mean, all of my cast. I go to set and watch my cast's work when I'm not in the scenes all the time. But there's plenty of other people too. I mean, a million. I love Catherine Hahn's work. I love Helen Mirren's work. Jennifer Coolidge, Jean Smart. There is way too many to mention. I watch so much television. For all those LA people that keep saying they don't watch television, I'm like, I'm fine. It's fine. I got it. I'm watching enough for all of you. And there's so much great acting going on television, film as well, but I haven't, because of the pandemic, been going out to films as much. But let's see, people that I want to work with. Guillermo del Toro, would love to work with Guillermo del Toro. I would love to work with Mike White. I would love to be in a scene with Elizabeth Moss. I'm a massive fan of hers. Who else? There's a pretty long list there too. Damien Chazelle. I want to be on Pen 15. I don't see how that's going to be possible. There's not a lot of adult roles, but I'm obsessed with Maya Erskine and Anna Conkle, like anything they do. I can just do background. I don't care. What I just clean floors, whatever they need me to do, I'll do it.
That's awesome. That's a great
On
show.
list.
Ashley has a question. What is your favorite job to do behind the camera?
Favorite job to do, but like a crew job?
Production. Production.
Huh.
So a writer, producer, director.
Well, I have been directing shorts, and I have a web series that I'll be directing. And that's fun. That's a new journey I'm going on, and I do really like that. I wish I could write. I'm thrilled that I'm learning how to direct, but I do wish I could write as well. I write a little bit. I've been asked to kind of help with other people's scripts for a very long time, born out of the fact that I started in new play development and was usually a part of the process of the writing with the writer. So I'd like to be doing more of that, but there's plenty of jobs on the crew that I have not done, but am fascinated by. Like props fascinates me. Lighting design seems like that's like a foreign language when they start talking to each other, but what an art form. And camera work. I wish I knew more about that as well.
Cool. So the next question is from Connor. Hi, Ray. Been a fan ever since Ava Adams. How different has filming the final season of Better Call Saul felt compared to previous seasons?
Hi, Connor. How the hell did you watch Ava Adams? Like that, I don't think that aired. How interesting. I wonder what Connor saw that. What a heartbreaker that one didn't get picked up. That was Will Arnett being a womanizing sports agent who sleeps with a woman. This all happened in like the first 20 minutes of the pilot. I think it was a 1 hour. That puts a curse on him. And for the rest of his life, he has to live in a woman's body. And so Will Arnett wakes up in my body. And it's me playing a man trapped in my body with Will Arnett doing commentary in my head the whole time. It was so much fun. Anyway, wait, what was the question now?
The question was, how different has filming the last season of Better Call Saul felt compared to previous seasons?
Well, I know the character more just by cumulative learning. I know the relationship more. I understand her stakes more and more every season we come back. That being said, like Tom was saying, the writing still surprises me. I'm forever surprised. I'm sad that the show's ending, so I have to keep that in check and make sure that my emotions about scenes are that I only use them for the character where they fit and where they're appropriate, rather than layering on my sentimentality onto a scene where it's not appropriate.
Awesome. So another question. We have a couple more questions we have one from Kay. Hello, Ray. What is one of your most surprising moments in front of the camera on Better Call Saul with Saul that was not planned?
Hi, Kay. Well, I don't plan any of my reactions. I'm trying to figure out how to answer that the most honest way I can. There are lots of spontaneous things that happen, but they are in character within the scene. And they write long scenes that don't have, and this is another great thing about the writing, if you get an 8-page scene with just Jimmy and I talking, it is not necessarily obvious what the arc of the scene is. Is it an argument that then became flirting that then turned weird? Is it two people on the same page and then not on the same page? It's not always clear, and they encourage us to explore that sort of dynamic of a conversation, kind of going in and out of where's this going and what's the trajectory, and like so in that, like there's many every scene has something that surprises me. And sometimes it's because what my scene partner does. If Bob chooses to do a line with a sideways eye to me versus looking at me, or chooses to walk away on a line, my next line has to be different. I have to respond to that.
Yes, absolutely. So Honey wants to know, what will you miss about playing Kim?
Hi, Honey. Everything. Everything. She's my favorite character I've ever played. And if I wasn't playing her, I would still be so proud that this particular female character exists on television. I'm very proud of that character.
It's an awesome character.
Thank you.
Our last question is from Megan. Can you talk about the kind of backstory you created for Kim?
A little bit. I don't want to divulge all of the backstory that I've made up, nor do I want to speak to anything the writers have done. And when we first started, and I did that first pilot, and I didn't understand a lot about who she was, and they had not nailed down exactly where they were going to go with the character and who she was. I basically did it deductively. I did my work by saying, if the result is X, then what's Y? And some of that was she spoke very little and in a very controlled fashion. I had almost no contractions for the first season. And rather than asking, hey, is it okay if I say wanna instead of want to, or gonna, I thought, well, let's sit with this for a minute and let's figure out if maybe, what if this is a key to playing a character that's different than myself? And it did start to be a key. And her economy of language, also, I thought, this is somebody who does not want to be misunderstood or misinterpreted. So why don't I let that speak to my body language as well? I'll be very still. And then that developed into, well, if you're somebody who is so inscrutable on the outside and still, and speaks only when you are very specific and know exactly what you want to say and nothing more, then maybe you came from chaos. So for me, that started to spin like, who needs to have that much control at all times? That's the X. So the Y for me is, I think she came from messiness and chaos, and is trying very hard to keep that at bay. And I thought that before, and I thought, and probably raised by an alcoholic or an addict, because she is very, I need to be responsible for my own actions, and I'm gonna be the only person that picks myself up when I fall, but she also is quick to be a martyr to clean up other people's messes, which to me sounds like an addict or an alcoholic parent. And this was well before they did that flashback where my mother indeed is an alcoholic. When I read that in season 5, I was like, oh my gosh, did you guys know that I've been thinking this the whole time? And they were like, no, we didn't. So that, and the fact that she was good at scams did not surprise me. First season 2, the first scam you see her pull and she's good at it, I was like, wow, that's shocking. And I was like, is it? Given what I think she probably came from? No, it's not shocking at all.
That's great. Thank you, Ray, for answering our audience questions. I'm going to pass it on to Tom if he has any other questions for Ray.
Yeah, thank you, Ray, for answering those questions from the audience. That's great. I just have a couple of ending questions for you, and kind of philosophical question maybe. What gets you up in the morning? What thrills you and what inspires you every day?
My work. I love what I do, like immeasurably. And the fact that I have a fiance and 2 boys that I call my sons that I've been around for 9 years now, and friends that love me and support me in what I'm doing. it's not lost on me that combination to get to do what you love for a living and have people that love you and support it is, it's not easy. It's not easy to find that balance, and that gets me up.
That's great. Anything that you would like to close with here?
Thank you. Thank you to New Mexico Film and Television and the crews and the people here, and the talent pool. And it's been a blast. I hope that I have another project that brings me back here soon. And yeah, I hope that any of this has been helpful to young actors and young filmmakers listening in these discussions, because there's great, wonderful things coming out of New Mexico right now.
Well, you've been an inspiration for all of us. Thank you so much, Ray, for taking the time to do this today. I know you're very busy, and we wish you the best of luck finishing up season 6 of Better Call Saul. We look forward to its first air date, probably sometime next year, I'm guessing. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And thank you, everybody, for being with us today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to the audience.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Tom, for that great discussion. In case you're just tuning in right now, we just talked to Rhea Seehorn from Better Call Saul. By the off chance you did miss it, don't worry, we have it recorded and it will be available online until October 11th. Stay tuned for our next Center Stage conversation with Buffy St. Marie at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Until then, have a great day.